U.S. Senator from North Carolina, John Edwards, to come to their secret meeting, which every year is in a different place, and this year it was near Milan in Italy. And so they basically anointed him to be either the vice president or president. Now here is, and remember, whatever I discuss here is bound to be incomplete. There's a lot more details on the 3 websites that have posted my stories.
Right.
But I will summarize a few of those details. We are limited by radio, remember that. The 2 alleged candidates running for against each other, first of all, are third cousins, George W. Bush and John F. Kerry. That's number 1. Secondly, there is a sordid connection. I consider this to be a family show. If the moderator feels that I'm overstepping the position, I believe she'll step in and tell me not to go there. But I will try, as polite as I can be, to describe the sordid connection between John F. Kerry and George W. Bush. Both of them are members of a secret society of which they select only 15 per year, since society was formed early in the 19th century. It meets, the initiation is in a windowless building on the Yale University campus called the Tomb. And the 15 that pass the initiation, the doors are then open to them to the highest government, academic, financial, and so on type office. Suddenly, the others that are already members see to it that these people that are acceptable to be members of Skull and Bones, I'm rather blunt, I call them Skull and Bastard Society. I tend to be rather blunt.
That might be putting it nicely.
I could mention, by the way, that for 12 years until recently, I was the moderator and producer of a public access cable TV show in Chicago that had a large cable audience here in Chicago. Our program was so popular for 12 years it pulled the entire cable system. But anyway, so I mean, I've interviewed a lot of important people. Anyway, to come back to the thing, I will try to describe. By the way, if you want to know more about the Skull and Bones Society, Anthony Sutton came out with a book about the secret establishment, Skull and Bones. And what they do, they initiate the new members of the Skull and Bones Society, where there is 2 of them. One is already a member, and one is to be initiated. The proposed member has to, first of all, divulge his entire personal and sexual life. Thereafter, and there's been details published about this, but I'll try my best to be polite. They then, au natural, cavort in a double-sized coffin filled with mud in homosexual situations.
And this was Kerry and Bush. Kerry initiated Bush in.
What?
Kerry initiated Bush in.
Kerry initiated Bush, yes. Kerry is the elder.
Yes.
Bush was the younger.
So we have 3 cousins here, or third cousins, having homosexual relations in this secret Skull and Bones ritual.
Yeah, all right. Now, another one that so cavorted with Bush in another such proceeding, and it was photographed, and I'll tell you about those pictures in a moment. I'm repeating a disclaimer that there's obviously what I'm going to discuss. I'm forced to leave out details. I'm just picking the highlights of details. My discussion here is bound to be incomplete, so I'm cautioning people that may go away and say, wait a minute, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about... I'm doing my best to summarize the details. Now, since puberty age, George W. Bush was encouraged, an astounding thing, to cavort homosexually with another boy that whose parents had a house nearby, a resort where the Bush family was, and that fellow was Victor Ashe. and he likewise was at Yale and was initiated. For several, he has Victor Ashe, A-S-H-E, has for many years been the mayor of Knoxville, and George W. Bush, while being the occupant and resident of the White House, I don't feel that the 2000 election was legitimate. I'm an independent, yes, but I will not call him president. I call him the occupant and resident of the White House. And he traveled with his male sex mate, which he has done since he was of puberty age, on Air Force One at the Crawford Ranch. The New York Post ran a story that was very incomplete and mysterious. It said a number of the Secret Service agents are disgruntled about some subject. The New York newspaper did not say what, and have resigned. We have, because I've been around the periphery of the media and broadcasting for many years. I used to teach investigation at a radio broadcast school in Chicago. And so a lot of the media people, and I protect their identity. I never mention who they are. I don't want them to lose their jobs. But Victor Ashe traveled with Bush and so on. And when it got to be very well publicized, because I began to disclose Victor Ashe's name specifically, in December, after having been a longtime mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee, he quit and became appointed by Bush to be the ambassador to Poland. So he's out of the country. No congressional committee can interview him. You see what I mean? It's convenient.
Right.
Now, why do I bring this up? Well, first of all, let me point out, in the 12 years that I was the moderator and producer of this cable show in Chicago, only one prior time did we ever go on the air with anyone's private life. We're not in the private life business. What people do privately, it is their business, except if it becomes national security. I will tell you the only other example that we dealt with on our television show was in 1992. Bill Clinton was running for president, and his wife, or purported wife, was Hillary Rodham Clinton. And she was a part of a group of 4 lesbian women. And the lesbian angle pertained to the situation, and I will go into it as best I can. And Hillary's business partner, one of the 4 women that were all together business partners, Hillary and 3 others, were illegally sending missile parts to the Abu Nidal terrorist group, and the CIA and the American FBI failed and neglected to do anything about this. Somehow or another, somebody purloined their entire file cabinet with all the travel records, the secret signals and symbols and phone numbers and addresses of connections with known worldwide terrorists, and delivered it to our television show. And we put a lot of that up on the screen in a 1-hour show in the summer of '92 while Clinton was running for president. In September of '92, the New York Times did a report about Hillary's partner being arrested by the authorities for violation of the U.S. export laws, namely sending, exporting from the United States without an export license, which couldn't be granted anyway, of missile parts to known worldwide terrorists. In the 1990s, Hillary Clinton put me and my television associates on a enemies list, and I happen to be, since childhood, a paraplegic in a wheelchair, and the federal authorities, without any basis, used to follow me everywhere. When I went as a freelance TV reporter into the federal courthouse, they'd even follow me into the washroom. And when I came out of the washroom, I would go right up to the FBI guy, and I said, "All right, take out your notebook. I am going to make full disclosure of what I did inside the government washroom, how much toilet paper I used, how many times I turned the faucet on and off, how many paper towels I used. Full disclosure. FBI agent, write it down in your notebook. Full disclosure. Send it on to Hillary. She's having you follow me everywhere." I did